So once again, good morning. Welcome to 1 Million Cups Kansas City. Thanks to the Kauffman Foundation for letting us be here today. So who is here for the first time? Raise your hand. Oh, wow. Okay, so our weekly event is an educational program for entrepreneurs that we have two great presenters present for about 6 minutes each, and then we open it up to the audience for a round of Q&A. So if you have a question for the presenter, please raise your hand and we will come around with the mics. My name is Courtney. I'm one of the community organizers here in Kansas City, along with Lance, Brian, and Melissa. So if you have any questions about entrepreneurship or 1 Million Cups in general, please come see us. So our first presenter today is here with a great new product for your four-legged animals. And I would like to introduce Crystal Wiebe with Paws.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Cool. Well, as she said, I'm Crystal Wiebe, and thank you for having me here today. I'm going to try and keep this casual and fun, and I know we're all still not awake, including me. So let's start out with a question. How many people in the audience have dogs? Awesome. I figured we would all be in good company today. About 47% of American households have at least one dog, and that includes my household. There's always at least one there, and you can see the permanent resident. That's Miss Coconut, who's actually a little slimmer these days. I adopted her from Great Plains SPCA earlier this summer, and she's looking trimmer than that. So it's not because of my treats that she's looking kind of chunky. The other question I wanted to ask you guys is how many people out there like to drink beer? You? That's great. Cheers to us. We are all contributors to about a $100 billion industry. And I started Paws last year with a simple mission: to make dogs better drinking buddies. And the reason that I kind of launched this is I'm the kind of person who might pick something up, say my bottle opener, and then set it down, and I can't really remember where it's at. So I solved that problem by attaching a bottle opener to the collar of a golden retriever that was then living with me. It was great, it made him a hit at parties, and it was really convenient. And then around Cinco de Mayo last year, when I started selling them, I had shopped around for a stock bottle opener and found one that I could put my branding on that I liked, and I started selling them at events and online and giving a portion of the sales back to animal rescue. And people just loved it. Drinking and dogs, you know, what could be better? This is so fun. And so we added a few other fun products, and people still kind of wanted more, you know. Really, they wanted beer for their dogs, but we started somewhere else first. So I don't know how many of you are real familiar with the brewing process, and craft brewing in America is just going crazy. Everyone is home brewing. The president's home brewing. Around the time I started thinking about Paws, I read an article that said that there was a new craft brewery opening in the United States at the rate of like one a day. Soon after, one literally opened up across the street from my house. So it was just like kismet. I felt like all these things were coming together. And so before we started making beer for dogs, I discovered that you can use the spent grains from the brewing process to make a super crunchy, high fiber, high protein dog treat. And dogs just love them. We call them our beer biscuits. Very simple name. So basically what happens is, depending on the size of the brewer, if you're a home brewer, you're going to have maybe 10 to 20, 50 pounds, it depends on how much you're brewing, of these spent grains. Or if you're a big brewery like Boulevard or Nebraska Brewing Company, you're going to have thousands of, even tons of grains. And not every brewer has something that they can do with them or an easy way to dispose of them. Well, I can't use 600 tons of grains just yet, but I can add a few more ingredients and a lot of love and make these fun treats for dogs. And they really do love them. People also seem to love them, but for the record, I have to say you cannot eat them, even though I have had people say they wanted to have them for breakfast. So I would also like to point out that in the pet food industry and the pet industry in general is very much like the beer industry, and that it has shown to be pretty recession-proof, and that's been helpful for us. And the other thing that's great about our products is that they're natural, and at this point, I still make every single beer biscuit by hand in my own kitchen. And so they have no preservatives, very simple ingredients, peanut butter and eggs and the grains. And so people feel good about feeding them to their dogs. It's not like giving your dog a milk bone or something that has things in it that you can't pronounce. And today's pet parents are very concerned about quality, and you don't have to worry about these products that I'm making for you coming from China. And so right now we are in a handful of retailers. We're in a couple of Hy-Vees in the Kansas City area. We also have a presence in Nebraska, which is where I'm originally from. But let's get back to that beer, which was the thing people were really excited about. Oh, before I forget, these are some of the brewers that I partner with here locally. Kansas City Beer Company, Green Room Burgers and Beer, and then Eye for an Eye Brewing Company is a home brewer who's really emerging on the scene. So craft beer for dogs is not really beer, of course. Hops and alcohol are dangerous for your dogs, so we can't be giving them that. Right now, as I think I mentioned, we're the only brewer in the Midwest that's doing the beer for dogs. And the cool thing about it is that it's potent in a healthy way. Instead of the booze, you're going to get canine glucosamine, which is good for their joints. And what we really found out is that the beer for the dogs gives them the beer munchies. I really thought this was going to be a fun novelty product, but as it turned out, we were able to really help some dogs that were sick or as they get older and finicky. We have a friend of mine buys this stuff by the growler and by the 6-pack because she has a little Boston Terrier mix who's incidentally named PBR, and she was getting super sick and was way below the right weight, and she used our doggy beer for a few months and got her healthy again. And we've also partnered with rescues, and they've used it on their sick and older dogs as well. And these are some of the places in the Kansas City area where you can find Beer Paws products. Like I said, a couple of Hy-Vees, Mike's Liquors, Coffee Girls Cafe, Milagro Spa, Canine Closet, and Pampered Paws. And I think we are at time, but the last thing I will say is that I'm just super excited that you're all here today, and I would love to talk with you later. We actually do have a dog here, not Coconut, but her friend Charlie is here, and I would love for you all to come say hello to Charlie at the end of today's presentations, and we do have some free samples of our beer biscuits for about the first 30 or so people.
Do you want to talk? Okay. Thank you for your presentation. I know that you have a program where you give back to the animal shelters or SPCA. That's correct. I don't know if you could share a little light on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we partner with a variety of rescues. I, for a long time, was involved in animal rescue, and in fact, Charlie there is one of my foster dogs. So we've partnered with Great Plains SPCA, Wayside Waifs, Paws up Nebraska, a lot with Unleashed Pet Rescue here in Kansas City. I partner by the event, and sometimes we'll do, like for a full month, we'll partner with one rescue and kick back about 10% of all profits. So between in-kind donations and cash donations, since launching, I think Beer Paws has given back, the equivalent of at least $1,000. So we're still a little startup and starting small, but we want to give back a lot more. And I'd like to introduce my partner, Will. So he's going to help answer some of the questions that hopefully you all will have for us today. This is Will Gladhart.
Nice to meet you. I've got a follow-up question. In what format can I buy the dog beer? Does it come in growlers and 6-packs? And I mean, you're really tapping into a culture. How much are you playing on that?
We are playing on it quite a bit. Actually, I have one here. I'm just going to go grab it if that's all right for me to step off stage. So our beer bottles currently don't look a whole lot like beer bottles, but they do sometimes come in a koozie. And so this is what they look like, and they are typically available just as singles, but you can order them on our website by the 6-pack or the 12-pack. The growlers are something that I do kind of special. We haven't pushed that all the way forward yet.
So what does a single cost?
The single costs usually about between $8 to $10, depending on the retailer.
Awesome.
And it's interesting that you pointed out, though, that we're tapping into that market. Since it's been about a year and a half since the company started, I really launched it really deep in the pet community. And that's been really great, and we've had a wonderful response. But now we're starting to dabble more and really getting involved with that craft beer community. And we did a Columbia Beer Fest just a few weeks ago and had a fantastic response. Beer people just get it instantly. I don't have to explain it at all.
Go ahead. I've got a question here.
So you said you're doing it all by hand right now. What are your plans for the future as sales grow?
Right. Well, we have looked into renting commercial kitchens. We also do have access to an industrial oven that we just haven't needed yet. So
really more, probably the personnel and labor once we get not a bad place to be, but processing. So
I'm sorry, we had that mic turned off. I think we're working on getting it turned on for you.
Did everyone hear that? You want to repeat?
Can you repeat that?
sure. As I said, with the biscuit process, Crystal, we're looking for some further commercial space and hopefully, a third-party manufacturer eventually. But currently, it's a group of 3 or 4 of us that sometimes get together and either pre-make a bunch of the dough or else make the biscuits and beer together for events. So that's where we're at least at this point.
Crystal, I have a question on the back to your left.
Hi, Crystal.
hi.
Suggestion for a place to make the stuff is Innovation Center in Independence. They've got a great wet lab there.
Yep.
And it's free. But my question was, how are you going to acquire customers?
Well, we've been acquiring customers a variety of ways because I had a presence online as a pet blogger and someone involved in rescue. Initially, I was able to get a lot of customers that way, and also from just really aggressively doing events, a lot of event marketing all over the Kansas City area, and then as I mentioned, in the Lincoln and Omaha markets as well. And then just, networking as much as possible and trying to meet the people who can help us get into stores.
We've got a question here in the back.
On your on the beer, do you know the percentage that is reorders, or is it more of a novelty purchase?
I think for a lot of people, it starts out as a novelty purchase, and right now that's a lot of it. But then we get I'm not going to even fudge my percentages here, but we get the people that need it. Once their dog starts liking their food with that, then they'll order it in bulk. So it's probably under 10%.
Question here on your right.
You guys want to fight it out? Can you talk about, I noticed Hy-Vee on there trying to navigate getting into a large retailer versus small retailers, how long that process takes and what's your strategy there, and how do you not get lost in 1 million products in a store like that?
That's definitely something that we're still figuring out. What's been great about getting into starting out with the Hy-Vee markets is each of those is independently, it's independently owned. So you talk to the store manager there, and then you can talk to the store manager at the next one. So getting into one can kind of help provide access to another one.
Right, and with Hy-Vee, because each store manager basically has some discretionary to where he can place and put products. You also kind of want to talk with them as well about where you feel your product might be best suited. Is it an end cap? Is it hanging? Do they have space for it? We spent quite a bit of time going around to a lot of the different grocery stores like In-House, Price Chopper, Hy-Vee, and just looking at where their products were placed and how much competition we had to be up against. And so, like the Hy-Vee in the Northland, they've been great to work with because they have put the products on an end cap. It's really super visual, but fostering that relationship with like the store manager and direct person to do like, get the products in, but also do product like little trials or samples that you can hand out to customers like during a weekend and asking them, when is their busiest time? When are the most customers here? You know, is it Sunday morning at 10 a.m. or is it Wednesday at 4 p.m.? You know, those questions that they know exactly when their traffic times are, and that's helped us. So.
And then the second part of your question was about not getting lost in a sea of products, and that's something that we're also thinking a lot about as we look forward into kind of updating our packaging. So.
Good question up front.
I've got to switch gears now because that was the exact question that I had, which is getting lost in like the inundation of different products and how you stand out from that. So you did mention something about you're the only one making these type of products in the Midwest. So that means there's other people in competition. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few other people who are doing the spent grain biscuits, and sometimes brewers will just go ahead and do that on their own. There's I think in Benson maybe, there's a brewer that does that. And then the doggy beer is more special. So there are a couple competitors, mostly they're on the West Coast, and then there's one in Brazil, but no one really around here. And I would love to collaborate with some of those competitors at some point, you know, keeping with that craft beer culture and the sense of collaboration and special brews. So I'm excited that there are other ones. I would love to be able to have a mix pack someday. Yeah, to some extent. And just kind of watching how they launched and where they're getting into and what their social media, what's happening on their social.
Crystal, we have a question to your left, but before I get to that, you know, sometimes you need to tap into other markets that are, you know, people like beer, people like dogs. You know, one of those areas could be poker. And I'm thinking of a famous photo or drawing or illustration. Got a question for you.
What's the shelf life of your product before it's opened and after it's opened, like for a growler? Mm-hmm. And does it need to be refrigerated after it's opened?
Absolutely. So I advise on the doggy beer to use within 7 days after opening on, this is the size that we really just sell, and refrigerate for sure. Unopened, it's about 3 months. And with the biscuits, those are like 6 months. They're just good forever.
Question here on your left.
I know that when you're prepping food for humans, you have a lot of regulations and red tape. Do they have the same thing for pets or animals? Is there anyone overseeing that or not yet?
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you're prepping for animals. There aren't too many hoops to jump through at all. We have a good relationship with the Department of Ag. They've come to my kitchen and talked with me and walked me through processes and give advice, but it's a lot easier.
Got a question here in the middle.
Have you thought of in-home parties like, you know, Mary Kay for pet lovers? Because women love having parties. Women love getting together. They could have their dogs, and by word of mouth, it would explode.
You're exactly right. I have thought about that, and actually, women tend to be a larger portion of our customer demographic. So that's a good idea.
Another question here in the middle.
Is there any way to protect your processes, like with patent rights and things like that? Have you explored that?
Sure. With the biscuits, you know, if we were to go, as we build the product line with different flavors, that's something that can be actually proprietary or protected, but the current recipe, it's pretty ubiquitous online. You know, it's out there. Home brewers actually, because they are using their grains, it's been passed around a lot. So that's kind of where the initial biscuit recipe came from. The beer itself is actually a little more on the proprietary side, and that again with some different variations in the flavors and also glucosamine. You know, because we are using a vegetarian-based type glucosamine, we can protect that. That's probably going to be a little bit down the road, but definitely in our line of sight.
Question for you up front, right here.
Good morning. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Two questions kind of around cost and sales. So you talked about the bottles and you talked about the biscuits. Can you kind of tell us, and I believe you said it was like $8 to $12 per bottle. Can you kind of break down what the biscuits roughly cost to make versus the bottles, and then also the sales of each?
Are you asking the sales percentage, like how much of each,
Yeah,
or just
like
number?
one more than the other.
Okay, so percentage of sales, what item is you're selling?
Oh, so overall, what we're selling. Sorry, we are definitely selling a lot more biscuits. I would say it's 50% more biscuits than beer. It takes a while for people to figure out with the beer. It's just a harder initial sell, but like I said, once they realize that it serves a purpose. So our costs are around like $3.50.
Got a question here in the middle.
So a friend of mine actually had a birthday party for her dog, so I could really see that fitting in with a celebration. But I just met someone who's working on a new innovative way to attach tags to collars. That ring is really hard to work with sometimes.
It is.
And he said that his major customer was veterinarian offices, and I'm wondering if you've tapped into that market yet.
I think I met the same guy at a pet event earlier this year. I really like that product. We have started to tap into vet offices. There are actually 2 in the Kansas City area that really, really love our products, and the biscuits are available at 8 Animal Hospital on Warnell Road. And one more thing on that, my old dog, Scooby, who was kind of the inspiration behind the brand and had the doggy beer right up until his last day when I could barely get him to eat anymore. Under vet's permission, I was using the doggy beer, so.
Well, I just wanted to highlight a comment from the Twitter feed for you guys. Someone had suggested that, speaking of tapping the market, that you consider making kegs for doggy parties.
I like it.
We've actually thought about it or at least using the kegs as display items for events and things like that. So, but I don't know if we're quite ready to hit that volume of keg doggy beer, but why not?
Hopefully soon.
Got a question here in the middle.
So when my wife and I went to New York City, we saw a lot of open-air cafes that allowed people to sit with dogs on the street. Same in Lawrence, same in Kansas City. So, if you thought about marketing to some of those venues so they could have dog-friendly products on their menu, and along with the home parties, if you could, instead of baking the biscuits, if you could make available, kits to make your own, then people could get together and bake the biscuits, or the restaurants could bake the biscuits.
That's definitely, the bake your own has been on the agenda for a while. In the very beginning, we were thinking about launching mostly that direction, and it turned out to be a little easier to go with the pre-baked, but I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Right, and actually through some of our research and talking to a lot of our customers who buy the biscuits, they say, oh, this is a great idea, but we don't have time to actually sit there and, dole out the biscuits, and also because they have to be dried down to about 8% moisture. It takes a long time for these to cook in an industrial oven, and you can put it in your oven overnight, but it could be like a couple-day process for you to really get that super crunchy treat. So a lot of people just don't want to waste the time. It's easier for them to pick up a bag of biscuits. So, but yeah, we looked at that frozen dough route, scoop it out of a tub, that type of deal. So possibly, but the market hasn't really led itself to, that demand yet.
Question here on your left.
Hi, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your relationship with the breweries in the area, and if there's any opportunities that you see in terms of branding with them potentially, for instance, a KC Beer Co. Hefeweizen biscuit or something like that.
Absolutely. That's one of the next things that we're looking at really moving towards. I have a great relationship with KC Beer Co. They're my neighbors, and also with Green Room, and we're drumming up some other relationships with some brewers possibly in Columbia and elsewhere, and we really would like to do some co-branding, because I think that's just a great opportunity for everyone.
Got a question here in the way back.
I know there's a lot of insanity today about how people treat their pets, and to that point, $10 for a really tiny looking bottle seems like a lot. That cost, is that just based on small batches right now? Because to me, I would think your sales rate, at least from volume standpoint, would be a lot more effective if you're charging the same amount I'm paying for a bottle of beer. But when you're doubling it for a dog, and my dog is similar size to yours, it's going to take a six-pack just for it to quench the initial thirst, and it isn't getting $60 worth of beer when I'm going to put $15 on a tab. So how do you fix your cost? Because I think that's a real problem for you getting true traction in the market.
I agree with you, and those are great points. First thing though, unlike a regular beer, your doggy beer is going to last you longer because you don't want to give it. Well, you could give it all to them in one sitting, but it's not really designed to be used that way. So you're going to get a week's unless you pour real generously, you should get about a week's worth out of this. And our prices are influenced a bit right now by the small batches that we're currently dealing with.
Right, and of course when you add water into the mix, and the fact that that's a big portion of part of the ingredients, then with packaging, of course, if you increase the the amount that we're able to buy, of course your price goes down, or cost goes down for the bottle. So that's those are pieces that we have to look at in terms of the cost. But it's a great point about, and some of that pricing has been set by retailers as well.
We have suggested minimums.
Right, and sometimes they end up on the higher side in terms of the price, but the product has still been selling, so like at Hy-Vee, so.
Cool. So a couple follow-up questions on that. So you say that per serving shouldn't be the whole bottle. I'm assuming then that it's a resealable bottle and not a pry open?
Correct.
And then the follow-up question is, since it is so small and you say it lasts a week, is it supposed to be diluted with water or is it poured directly?
Nope, just shake well and pour a splash on.
Question, back left.
Can you speak more to the health benefits and whether or not you've actually explored just going with this as a medicine or something to help, and then talking to dog hospitals and things like that instead of the novelty beer aspect of it?
Yeah, if we were to go down the strict, this is a health product route, there's definitely more regulations and studies that we would have to get involved in, and we're not quite ready for that right now, but we can't proclaim, hey, this does all kinds of things for your dog, but we can add that canine vegetarian glucosamine blend that people know what glucosamine is and they know that it's good for their pets, and we can get veterinarians to approve of the product and recommend it to their patients.
Got a question here in the middle?
Yeah, Crystal, having come through the large animal industry and working with the ethanol byproducts, I think it should be pointed out the green aspect and lowering the footprint here by using these grains coming out of local brewers. In some cases, those guys don't have the size and the scope to take that co-product or byproduct, whatever you want to call it, to the large animal industry, just because the cost of distribution, picking it up, and then the shelf life is rather, is pretty short on it as well. So I think it needs to be pointed out that the good things that you're doing as far as the footprint and finding a home for this byproduct.
Thank you. Yeah, we have talked to a lot of brewers that may not currently have a relationship with a farmer. That's something we didn't mention, that they could also feed those grains to the animals. So we're happy to be able to recycle them and make a green pet treat.
Crystal, thank you. Before we let you go, what can we as a community do for you besides suggest you take this onto Shark Tank?
Well played. I would just love it if all of you would go out and tell all of your dog-loving and beer-loving friends that you heard about this cool local company, Paws. We are always looking for more partners as far as brewers and retailers and mentors.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. If you didn't grab an announcement sheet, I was walking around passing them out, but I can try to flag you down again in a few minutes. We've got some great programs coming up. We've got Startup Grind, which is a fun event that happens at Crema Lab. You've got information on the back of your sheet, as well as the Athena League is doing another event at the Vox Theater that's coming up September 18th. And then on Thursday morning at the ECJC, Enterprise Center, Johnson County, Building Business Brands. There's a educational program that's happening that Melissa, our organizer Melissa Roberts, is involved in putting together. So we're encouraging you to take a look at the back of the announcement sheet. Okay, next up we have Eric Fellows and Shane Hackett from Engage Mobility, and they are here to show off their new technology. And once again, if you have questions after, just raise your hand, we'll come around for you. Here's Eric.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Well, thank you for your audience. We're happy to be here. My name is Eric Fellows. I'm the COO of Engage Mobility. My esteemed colleague over here is Shane Hackett. He'll be stepping up during the Q&A portion of the presentation. So we've got very little time, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. In the next 6 or so minutes, little brief preview here, I want to talk about who we are. I'll share a little bit with you about why people should use Engage Mobility or what we do, and why companies are interested in our product. We'll talk a little bit about the mobile engagement system, which is our proprietary mobile app and communications platform. And we'll do a very brief demo of one of our implementations, which is called augmented reality. One of the cool things that we've added for wow factor into our app. And then we'll do the Q&A. So who is Engage Mobility? Well, Engage Mobility is an emerging leader in mobile engagement, okay? By combining what we call disruptive augmented reality technology, big data, and a proprietary marketing methodology, we've created a powerful customer engagement system. In other words, we help businesses leverage technology and proven marketing systems to achieve maximum results at lowest possible cost. So why would a company choose Engage Mobility? Well, there's a number of bullet points here that we could spend a lot more time on, but just briefly, there's a great market opportunity out there in the mobile world right now. Over $21 billion is anticipated to be spent on mobile ads by 2015, okay? We've got a great management team, the two co-founders of the company, Shane and Jim, he's in our Florida office. They built over a $100 million company in a past company in just a few years. So we've got great leadership. The mobile engagement system, it's a disruptive product. It's an industry transforming product. That's why we call it disruptive. Basically it transforms the economics of mobile marketing, and it opens up a market to small companies that would otherwise perhaps not have access to it due to cost. So for as little as $9 a month, we can get companies into our product. And the mobile engagement system is really as low as $29 a month. We've got the big data aspect of it. We have a large database of consumers and businesses, which we like to leverage to help companies with customer acquisition. And we have a highly scalable business model. So our fixed costs remain relatively stable in relationship to the amount of growth that we have in our revenue ramp. So folks, the future is mobile. There's 7.1 billion people in the world. 6.6 billion mobile phones. That's a 93% saturation rate, guys. So the opportunity is there. There's tons of mobile. Everything is going that direction. The average user spends 2 hours a day on their mobile phone. This slide is just here to illustrate the decline in desktop sales and laptop sales and the increase in tablet, mobile phone, and hybrid device sales. 2013, it shows declining. It shows you the number of sales, and then anticipated 2014 sales, of course, are declining as well as in 2015. So the market is a growing market. There will be more than 15 billion smartphones globally in 2016, according to Cisco and WorldWatch. Huge growth in smartphones. So what is the problem exactly? Well, the competitive landscape for small businesses has changed dramatically, right? Everything's going mobile, and if you're not, a lot of companies don't have the ability to follow that quickly and respond quickly. So The other thing that's changed is that the way that we shop and find our products and services has changed. We're going mobile. Mobile search is accessible. It's very easy. So things are changing. The average small business owner lacks the awareness, the time, the budget, and the expertise typically that it would take to adapt quickly to these fast evolving technologies. So allow me to introduce the mobile engagement system. Okay? So we have an app, and we have a platform that manages contents and communications for a business. We're able to allow businesses for a low cost to get in, leverage augmented reality, leverage deals, and leverage other items, and do it in a cost-effective manner. They also get access to their data. So once a company has onboarded a client, so to speak, onto the app, they've engaged with that business, the business has the ability to communicate with that customer through making offers, through push messaging, deals, couponing, and they can see the data there. So you own the data as a small business. It's a CRM platform, a mobile CRM. You can use it to analyze data from your users. You can see where your users are located on a map. You can measure how they interact with your product or service, and you can target users at the right time and the right place. Mobile reach. You want to reach your audience at the right time and right place, so we've implemented geofencing, push notifications, and contextual targeting. I would talk more about that, but there's not a whole lot of time, so feel free to ask questions about those items. You can use the mobile CRM to build lasting relationships. 33% of email addresses change on a yearly basis, but people are keeping their cell phone numbers for life. So you've got a lot of power there with the mobile CRM. Push notifications. So you deliver your message when you want and where you want based on location, timing, and buying preferences. Of course, open rates for push messages are much higher than they are for email, so it's a great modality, a communication modality. Coupons. Mobile coupons are 10 times more likely to be redeemed than traditional coupons are. Obviously, you've got your phone with you all the time. You get a coupon on the phone, you're not going to lose it, and it's much more easy to redeem. Geo-targeting. So we're able to create geofences, which is a virtual fence around an address or a location. And that allows you to automatically send messaging or coupons or offers or incentives when people are in the vicinity of your business. So the big takeaway here, folks, is that consumers don't want to be disconnected from their phones. This addiction gives you a chance to stay connected to your consumers wherever they go. You have the opportunity to reach your audience without making them step out of their daily routine. There's no faster way to execute a marketing communication in existence, and your audience is almost guaranteed to get your message with SMS and push messaging. Are you guys interested in a quick demo? All right, I've been having issues keeping the iPad online here, so hopefully I can do that. But what I'm going to demonstrate for you is one of the augmented reality implementations that we have called Vuforia. It's a Qualcomm technology. I got to reconnect this really quick. It's a Qualcomm technology, and basically what we do is it allows you to scan not just QR codes or tags, but you can actually create whatever image that you want and make it a scannable target, and then play back video. So video is a great communication channel. Sorry, I have to reconnect here. Video is a great communication channel. You can actually obviously communicate a lot more via video than you can through the written word or even an image. And okay, I think we're good.
Are you launching your?
I had to connect.
You're launching the app, and you're going to point it to something.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is I've created a target out of the web page for 1 million cups. We're going to bring this up and scan it, and it should play a video. So it plays back a promo video, a piece of communication things like that. The duration of the videos and that sort of a thing are important in consideration of you've got 3G or 4G or an internet connection, that sort of a thing. But basically, that's just one of the implementations that we have in the app that allow for greater connectivity and greater interactivity with your audience. So, so thank you for your audience once again. I'd like to open it up for Q&A. I'll invite Shane up here also to participate in that.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Courtney.
I have a question to your right, in the middle.
Hi.
Hi. Can you tell us a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey? What got you here? You know, why are you here today presenting? And what does the future of your company look like?
Sure. Shane, you want to?
Sure. My background, I grew up here in Kansas City, and I started out in the radio business. I was the executive producer at KCMO Radio. If those of you who are my age, maybe 50 and older, might remember Mike Murphy. And I did the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals as a producer. Went from radio to television to the internet, and now everything turning mobile. And so the idea is to use the thread of marketing and advertising for small businesses. That's who we worked with, and radio and advertising, and be able to bring technology that allow them to be able to connect with their customers in a very, very time sensitive place. And and as an entrepreneur, that's pretty much all I've ever been my entire life. So this is really taking advantage of new technologies to be able to empower small businesses.
We got a question here to your left.
Again, maybe I need a slightly better explanation of what your actual product is, and maybe in an example of how a particular business would utilize this. I understand more about the platform and the technology, but I'm still not quite sure the actual product and how it would be utilized.
Great question. Yeah, in the short period of time, it's difficult to share with you all of those elements of it. So basically, let's say you're a pizza shop and you're looking for additional ways to get more loyalty out of your customers, maybe bring more touches in, more purchases every year. So you use an app to accomplish that. You can deliver deals or coupons during certain times. Let's say you want a spike in business on a Friday night, you don't have enough business in there, you want to get some more people in. So you log into your platform, you send out a coupon, and you put up a coupon that says, hey, free pizza, free 2-for-1 deal tonight only within a certain time frame. And then you push that message out to all the users and basically start getting people to come in just by offering a quick incentive. That would be one great use in the retail side.
Okay, we've got a follow-up to that.
Sure.
Again, if you mentioned your, I guess, data and your customer base, is this something that these small businesses are using as a platform for their own client list and client data, customer data, or are you augmenting that with some additional data and reach that you may be able to provide?
Sure. So when we designed the app, privacy issues and things like that obviously are a big deal. And one of the things that we wanted to do was provide a platform that a small business could use that would allow them to take it to their own customer base, promote the app, get them to download that app, and then be able to communicate with them on a loyalty basis or whenever they feel like they need to. The answer to your question is that, yes, we like to augment with our own data, but the idea was that companies are able to get their own user base, generate their own user base, and have access to that and own that data. So, in other words, email. A lot of people have email collection systems or opt-in forms. A lot of people don't, but email isn't necessarily enough. The channel is not that reliable, and deliverability is always an issue. If you can get another modality for communication that you can use and generate additional loyalty. That was kind of the concept.
Question right center.
Oh, so, excuse me, you can't throw a rock in Kansas City without hitting a mobile app developer, and many of them have presented here. Most of your slides made the case for why we need mobile. We know that, but what makes you different from the competition, and who are your near-peer competitors?
Feel that one?
Yeah, there's really, there's two different pieces. One's the app and then one's the platform. So the platform that we built, has a lot of the features that we talked about in terms of push notification, loyalty, geofencing. And if you don't know what a geofence is, it's basically a virtual cellular fence, or that when somebody crosses it, you can actually have a message or notification delivered to them at a certain time. So those are all, and then we have obviously augmented reality, a couple different versions of augmented reality. And so our value proposition, one was to build the platform and allow that to be able to power apps. And then the second value proposition that really differentiates us is a very, very low cost way for businesses, specifically small and medium-sized businesses, to be able to utilize a mobile strategy. So that's where we started it, the pricing at $9 a month. My idea at the time was to offer to small businesses, we're email, we've been doing email marketing for a long time. That's a lot of where there's a question earlier about databases. And so, if you're familiar with like a Constant Contact or an iContact or Vertical Response, which are email platforms, the idea was to give small business owners the ability to be able to do that on a very, very small cost basis, starting at $9. So that's really the value proposition. There are a lot of great mobile developers that we actually work with in town. So we just have a little bit different value proposition.
Got a question here in the back?
I think like the earlier folks, I'm still struggling to understand what that value proposition is and how you deliver value that's different than something such as what YP.com comes out and sells. They've got a mobile application. Who owns the data and who's responsible for getting that customer into your system? So I'm a small business, maybe I'm a small service fitness business. Am I responsible for getting that customer signed up, and then once they cross these geofences, you remind them about my business I'm already engaged with? Or are you helping me engage with competitors' customers as well, and vice versa? What happens to that data about my customer once I decide to stop using your service?
So great question. So this is really set up just like, I'll use the Constant Contact model, which is an email platform. Those customers are your customers. So it's a login to the mobile platform. Those customers are your customers. And so you don't get access to other people's customers. They don't get access to your customers. And so that's how they reside. And in these low-cost models, you're also responsible for actually, setting up your own offers. We do offer more agency services where we actually do some of that and help you with the marketing, help you get people on. But in terms of this, do-it-yourself side, on the low-cost side, you own the data and you actually do the marketing within that platform.
Great. Got a question here in the middle. Right.
So from the end users, the small businesses end user perspective, so at the pizza shop example, does that pizza shop, if they have their own app, they can sort of embed the Engage technology into that, or does the actual, the Joe Smo customer have to have an Engage app and then like or follow their specific businesses in there for the reach to actually get there and for that audience to be visible and utilized?
Sure. So it's either or. There's actually two options. So one is that for very low cost, right? They can just use the Engage app as it sets and have their own individual login in the back end, and that's very low cost. If they have their own app and they want to tie into the platform, they can also do that. And since we're all here kind of talking about entrepreneurship and the different paths that we take, it's interesting that the original concept was we would make it very, very low end and be able to onboard a lot of small businesses. But a lot of our first customers, including internationally, all started to come where they wanted their app and they wanted to use our platform to be able to power that app. So the business has really broke into a couple of different segments, one being us launching here domestically for the small businesses, but even more so having people with apps or that want apps that just want it powered by the Engage backend platform.
Question on your left.
I have two questions, actually. You've referenced augmented reality a few times, and I was wondering if you could give a little more detail around how you're using that. And then my second question is, do you offer your customers, I guess, consulting in terms of how to get people to download, get their customers to download, and then based on what results they want to achieve, what kinds of incentives they might want to run?
Sure, happy to answer that question. We have two augmented reality integrations. One of them is what we call our street level view, and that street level view basically is you're outside, it's 11:30, you're ready for lunch, so you pull out your phone, launch the Engage app, and you start to scan the horizon, and businesses that are within your area, as you point it at that direction, they fly onto the screen, and you can see, Subway is over there, it's 3.2 miles away, and they've got a coupon. So you tap on the business, it takes you to their business detail page, or it takes you to Google Maps and you can map to the location. So that's one augmented reality implementation. The other one was the one that I showed you. It's what we call bringing print to life. So you've got a print logo or something like that on your door or a menu. You're a restaurant owner and you're really proud of your menu items, and you've got a Class A chef. And so you take little short videos of the chef and how they prepare their meals, and then they're explain which wines go with which meals, and then you put those on your menu as the pictures of the food on the menu, and then people can come in and scan each item and get a full description, video description of what should I drink with this item, how clean is the kitchen in the back, things like that. So it's those are the two augmented reality integrations that we have. Did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, and just to add to the second part is, do we offer services to help people be able to acquire clients? And the answer is yes. And in fact, the experience has shown us that the small business owners and medium-sized businesses as well need help in terms of being able to engage their actual customer base and get them onto the mobile side. So what we've done is actually, based on the different verticals in the businesses, we've actually created like little small business packs. And we also do consultings for some of the larger ones. As an example, domestically here, we have one of the largest real estate developments, both commercial and residential in the state of Florida, and they have all their homeowners in multiple pieces, and so we actually help create collateral materials and helping them to onboard all of their residents and their businesses as well.
Got a question here in the middle?
You referenced some databases in your presentation. I'm curious as to the source of those databases, and then I, as a small business client of yours, how do I access those databases, and can they be segmented beyond just geography vis-a-vis either demographics or psychographics or things like that?
Sure, yeah, great question. I mentioned my background being radio, and I went radio, television, internet, and one of the companies that I founded probably about 18 years ago is called Hub Data. Started out in the direct mail business, and then we've kind of continued. And so we have both business databases and consumer databases. And so one of the interesting things about these little computers, smartphones that we all walk around with now, is they're just constantly collecting data, just by the nature. We're triangulated by 3 cell towers, and unless we opt out and say we don't want stuff, or if we opt in and say that we want to have information, it's collecting data. We actually, on our databases, not the mobile side, but the data from Hub Data, we actually have certain, based on where they were or how they came in through us on the internet or direct mail, we've collected psychographic and demographic information, both on the B2B side and then the consumer side. And then we offer that in terms of appending or in campaigns to be able to help businesses. And that's kind of a separate revenue model for us, and a very popular revenue model, especially on the B2B side.
Guys, I got a question to your right.
I have a spark of an idea for you. So as I've been working with some global
potential partners and partners over the last couple years. If there are pieces of this app that do not require smartphones, but only work with the SMS piece, there are emerging markets around the world that have the ability to send SMS information, but they don't have the internet capability. So if that is the case here, this may have all kinds of potential opportunities globally, and I'd be glad to hook you up with some of those if you're interested.
Yeah, very much so. And just to kind of tag on that, it's kind of our journey with this technology and as entrepreneurs. When we first got started building the domestic platform out, we actually made a tour of China. And our actual largest client, and actually is Datong, which is the media conglomerate of China. So we actually built this entire platform out in Mandarin, and it actually launched in China before we have launched here in the United States. And so so the technology can actually go across, all international boundaries, with the exception of the language side.
Ask. I have a question here in the back. Who are your competitors currently?
There's in terms of the specific niche that we're going after, kind of on the low end small business side, there's not a lot of people in that space, and one of the challenges that we have with our particular product is really the educational side on the small business, and showing the benefits to them and then how to use it. So in that side, none that we know of to date. On the larger, more enterprise, where I mentioned like building out a platform and licensing it in China, or doing the real estate piece in Florida, a lot of app developers can be competitors or joint venture partners, because as we get into some of these larger builds, we actually use a lot of different app builders now here in Kansas City, as well as regionally and internationally, to help us. But there's kind of two different markets.
I would tag onto that. The closest kind of platform competition that we have is probably Yelp in terms of the street view. We're using the similar technology. So they have some similar implementations there. And Front Flip would be kind of a competitor for us at the retail level. They have similar functionality in their app. It's just not as powerful, and their customers don't get access to data. So
and that's a real differentiation. And to the gentleman's question earlier is, how does the data work? And with those two examples, you don't get access to all your users and your customers, and that's when we're kind of talking about value proposition. That is the value proposition: is these are your clients as a business owner, and you interact with them in the way that you want to be able to interact with them.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming out and presenting.
Everyone, thank you.
Classic last question for you. How can we as a community help you?
Our piece is really about we're looking for strategic partners. We were very fortunate to be able to put together a very lucrative and a very large media partner in China. We're now in our rollout stage in the United States, and the technology can cross a lot of different verticals. That can be great, but it can also be challenging in terms of focus. So we're looking for strategic partners in a lot of different, for everybody, everything from additional developers to marketing partners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that wraps it up for today. Thanks for coming out and supporting our presenters today. Next week, be sure to kind of check out the presenters, because we're going to start giving away some prizes for best questions. So if you've had your eye on one of those 1 million cup mugs, now's your chance to get one. And next week, if you know somebody who enjoys the entrepreneurial spirit or would like to be here, please invite your friends and family to come out. And if you would like to present up here, check out the website, kansascity.1millioncups.com. There's a register button. Go ahead and put your company in, and hopefully we can have you up on stage presenting. Thanks, and have a good week.